Okay. Any questions, Charlie?
I am good, thank you.
The stairway in the middle, it's kind of in the middle there, looks like where it jogs back. What's that one for? You got a front door, then to your right, yes, exactly, that one
That's a
right there.
side door
For,
to our house.
oh,
And the in-laws way
it's on the
over.
way back, okay.
On the far
Gotcha.
right-hand side.
And where was that, did you have that kind of a entrance prior to this?
Yes, yeah, it's existing to our house. Yep.
Okay,
The
so
side
that
door
was
is still
already
there
there.
behind the garage, yep.
okay. I'm good.
Jerry, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Nancy? No. Me neither. I'm going to open this up to the audience and see if anyone has any questions or concerns regarding this application. Seeing none, I'd accept the motion.
Motion to close
Do you
the
want to
public
read the
hearing?
letters?
Oh,
I should, before we close it,
Let's
that's a
not
good
close
idea.
it.
Let's not do that yet.
I have a letter from the Center Water District showing no concerns for Scott and Paula Wallace on 36 Chestnut Hill Road. I have a letter from the Police Department showing no concerns for Scott and Paula Wallace, 36 Chestnut Hill Road. I have a letter from the Board of Health showing no concerns for Scott and Paula Wallace, 36 Chestnut Hill Road. Fire Prevention has an attached letter, which I will read into the record. From Captain Dan Kostofis. Members of the board, the department is concerned that as more than one dwelling on a property, then that occupancy should be identifiable from the street. This office will require two mailboxes identifying the property as 36 Chestnut Hill Road and 36A Chestnut Hill Road. The applicant shall submit an application for the address to the Chelmsford 911 Committee and its coordinator, Town Clerk Patricia Druez. This department is not interested in an official change of address being recorded in the deed. It is only our intent to distinguish this home in emergency responders. The limited accessory apartment and the existing house shall be brought up to the current fire alarm code according to the Massachusetts State Building Code. The applicant is advised to contact the Fire Prevention Office prior to submitting plans. This office would approve this plan with these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Dan Kostofis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. That is the end of the letters. Now I take a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing. I second that.
Second by Jerry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I think we can take this up right now.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the application as submitted.
Okay, I think that's it. We have a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck, sir.
Great, thank you.
Now let's click it fast.
That's what was messing you up.
Our next hearing is with Brian Melissi, Whitman and Bingham Associates, Bentley Lane, no number listed. They are seeking a variance under 195.5A, conformity to construct a new single-family dwelling on a lot that will not meet requirements for lot frontage and lot width. Good evening.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Brian Melissi with Whitman and Bingham Associates. Here representing EJH Incorporated. With me tonight in the audience is Emil Hool of EJH Incorporated. And what we have filed in front of you tonight is a application for a variance for a piece of property at Bentley Lane. It's currently known in the tax maps as 0 Bentley Lane. And what we would like to do, again, is we're requesting a variance because the piece of property doesn't have required frontage or required lot width. I should point out, from the get-go that we're not changing any property lines, we're not creating any property lines. These are all property lines of existing ownership. And Colleen, if you would, there's a plan that shows, it's dated 2006, which is the land plan. I believe that's it right there. So that's that's the land plan. And what I did, Mr. Chair, and some of the members, I made some 11 by 17s. If it helps, I can hand these out.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few abutters here. I only brought a dozen of them. I don't have enough for everyone.
It's okay.
We could probably share.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we could, Charlie and I could.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And if someone wants to see these in the audience, they can come get one.
We could share.
Brian, I have that one.
What is this, a driveway? Zero Bentley Lane.
Right of way.
Okay, I thought it was.
It might not be a driveway yet, but they have a right, it's probably an easement.
So he's got a lot of acreage.
He doesn't need front setback
Oh,
because
the road is here, is this what?
Thank you. Sorry about that, Mr. Chair.
there's not enough frontage.
Is this what he's calling frontage?
And
So
the
the-
width is,
The first page in this handout is actually it's the copy of the plan that's on the screen now. It is it's a recorded land plan. Again, it was dated in 2006, which shows the property in question. I did try to highlight it to let you see where it is. It's made up of 2 parcels, and it's a little bit, about 1.6 acres in size. The area of the property that's labeled the right-of-way was a remnant from when Bentley Lane was first laid out back in 67 or 69, I believe. 59? 1959. And so the 2 pieces of parcel now currently owned by a trust, and my client, EJH Incorporated, has an option to purchase from the trust. The first order of business is we went and visited with the building commissioner and kind of went over the project with him, and he gave us a denial letter saying that the property as it sits does not have proper frontage, and it does not have proper lot width for the current zone. And so we're here in front of you asking for relief from that zoning code. The second sheet in the handout is a plan that was drawn by my office, which just shows basically how we might lay this out. What we're going to do is put 1 single-family home on the property, accessing the lot through the right-of-way, through the piece of property in the right-of-way. The dash line on the interior of the main box is what we typically refer to as the building envelope when we pull off the zoning offsets to show where a dwelling could sit on the property. At this point in time, we're not expecting to ask for any dimensional relief from property lines. It's really just the frontage in the lot width. The right-of-way, as it lays out, it's kind of a little bit of odd shape, but at its pinch point, it's only at 40 feet wide. In this zone, it requires 150 feet of frontage and 150 feet of lot width. So we obviously do not have that.
Could I interrupt you just for a moment to
Please.
understand? The rear lot and the right-of-way are owned by the same trust?
They are,
And have these properties become conjoined at that point?
they are.
They are. So. Sir, if you have questions, you can certainly bring them up, but we're gonna do this one at a time. Well, I
that would
guess
be
my
the-
question is, why don't you have 62.7 feet of frontage if that's the case?
We do have 62.
Would be at Bentley Lane.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, it said 40 was your frontage.
No, I said the right-of-way actually necks down to about a 40-foot on the lot width issue. The actual frontage is the 62.7 along the radius.
Okay, so you're at 62 for your frontage.
Right. And I'm sure.
Excuse me, point of order. Technically, he's at 40 feet for his frontage, because the frontage is measured back at the setback. So technically, 40 feet off Bentley Lane is where you do the measurement for the actual frontage. So he's at 40 feet.
So this is 2 separate lots, so the right-of-way is not considered part of the parcel? And I'm just trying to understand why.
It is part of the parcel,
the
that's gonna
40
be
right
the
there.
access to the lot.
The 40 is actually the access to the lot, because that's what's on the road.
If I may, I think,
Right there, yeah,
the way
right where she is.
the way the zoning code reads is the frontage is actually measured at the front yard offset. And so while it's 62.7 along the radius of the curve, if I were to come back 40 feet and measure it.
Right, correct.
I was saying I only have 40 feet. Regardless, I mean, if it's 40 feet or even 62.7 feet, I'm still deficient as to the 150 feet.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm just trying to
Yep.
understand where we're measuring from.
And I know there's a lot of people here, some abutters, and I'm sure they probably have a lot more of the history behind this piece than I do. But back in 2011, maybe it was after the last filing or whatever happened out here, not my client, but the owners or the trust went and petitioned the land court. And so there has been some decisions that say that the trust owns these two pieces and they are conjoined. And that's really the crux of why we're here. We've been told by legal counsel that it is indeed one lot. I'm not an attorney, I'm just an engineer.
I can appreciate that. So the lot area of 66,407 includes the right-of-way in these calculations? I don't see any area for,
There is, the land area for the right-of-way is
Oh, 87.
8770.
It's 1.52 here, yes.
1.52, correct. And so, when we looked at this to see whether we made the requirements for a backland lot or what's known as a hammerhead lot, we do not meet those requirements either. The minimum lot width for a hammerhead lot would be 50 feet, and I believe you need 80,000 square feet for a
2
minimum
acres.
on a hammerhead. So we did not have enough land area to call it a backland lot. And so that's why we decided to come in here and ask for the variance to the lot width and the frontage.
good.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just a, and again, I'm not an attorney, but I've been in enough of these hearings that there's usually 3 criteria that have to be touched upon for a zoning board of appeals to, grant a variance. The first one is owning to circumstances relating to the soil conditions, shape, or topography of such land or structures, and especially affecting such land or structures, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is located. And I would submit to the board that this truly is a unique shaped lot, with the fact that the access does not meet current zoning regulations, and that it is unique to this parcel. The second criteria would be a literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning bylaw would involve a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner or appellant. And again, we would submit that without a variance relief, this property really becomes, non-usable. And therefore they would lose any type of not lose their ownership, but certainly lose any type of gain that they would get it from this property. Third one is that desired relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. And we would submit to you that it's for a residential use, it's in a residential zone, it's in a residential neighborhood, and that we strongly believe that it doesn't substantially derogate from the bylaw. I know I was quick, and I know there's probably going to be some questions, but I would certainly try to answer those as best I can, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the board and see if we have any questions.
What does the dotted zoning offset line mean?
So that's where a house could go in that envelope.
Oh, wait, okay,
You have your setback, those are the setbacks
Gotcha.
just shown.
okay.
Have you looked at any other configurations to where that house could be more centered and further away from the abutting properties?
We have, unfortunately on this plan, it's not shown. We had tried to make the April meeting, and if you remember a couple of weeks ago, there was about 22 inches of snow on the ground, and exactly, it doesn't look like it now. There is a wetland that runs to the rear of the lot, kind of in this location here. If you pull up some of the GIS maps, it's there. We have since had that wetland delineated. I've gone out there and walked it. I don't have the delineation on a plan for you, but I can say that we do have room to put the house in, and meet the conservation regulations, which would be a 50-foot no structure zone, as well as some of those property line offsets. So the reason why we showed it up front was the fact that we need to stay away from that wetland area.
But you're saying there still could be room to move it closer?
It could be, yep. Again, like I had said, that we don't expect to have to ask for any relief from property line offsets at this point in time. So once, again, this is our first step. The next step would be to, have the topographic survey done, and site the house and file with conservation.
Yep, I see it. That really helps, thanks for doing that.
Brian, is there any wetlands on the right-of-way?
No.
No, that's all set.
I think they're on the board now to get a view.
Thanks.
Yeah,
So that's showing that's the buffer zone, the 100-foot buffer zone, and I know
you don't have a lot of room.
in with the wetland bylaw in Chelmsford, we can go up to 50 feet with a house. We have the right to work in the buffer zone, but the bylaw says no structures within 50
Yeah.
feet of the wetland. Correct.
Yeah, so there's a little.
Nancy, do you have any questions?
Just more curious about that land court case.
So I apologize. I certainly, if I had it in my possession, I would have included it. I'm not trying to hide that. I literally was just handed it tonight. I can give you that for the record. I only have one copy of it, unfortunately. And certainly.
The decision in land court was that it is a single lot area
Well, by
conjoined
operational law, the two lots, common ownership merges
automatically.
automatically.
Correct. So that's what I was
Just wondering
curious
why it
about.
made its way to the land court, like what else? Because, I mean, that's just by operational law, so I feel like there's something more there that,
I'm wondering if it
don't
wasn't,
know.
that it was
I can show you the rest of the.
a right of way or something. It's curious. But we can request that and, probably not get it this evening, but we can look into that.
trying to look it up.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of lots on Bentley Lane. You look up here, there's this one. And this one. That were a point of contention back, a while back ago, so that might have been partly why the court, they're unbuildable, there's a stream that runs through it.
Right through the middle of the two.
Yeah, and there was fear that it was gonna be a 40B or something at one point, could have caused that property to go into it.
Excuse me, could you speak up? I can't hear a single word you're saying.
So we will try to speak up. I know it's crowded.
Yeah.
I'm going to open the podium to the audience. If someone has a comment regarding this, please, one at a time. Obviously, there's a few people here concerned with this. Try to limit your comments to something that is fresh. I understand there's concerns. So if we can go through that, and it looks like we're going to get a bit of a petition here.
Wow. 60.
Thank you.
We tried to organize so we didn't.
I appreciate
you.
that. I'm just going to read this quickly into the record and say that there are approximately 53 signatures here of what I believe are people in the...
60.
Yeah,
On the back.
that's the
60.
last page.
I do, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I did. There are 60 signatures there. I'm assuming these are abutters and surrounding neighbors.
Yes.
And I'm going to read this in on May 10th, 2018, to the Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals. It's from citizens who oppose the granting of variances that would allow the development of the undersized lot on Bentley Lane, map 70, lots 311-9 and 311-25. We, the undersigned, strongly oppose the town granting Roberta Galkin of 108 Buchanan Road, Edison, New Jersey, variances that would allow the building of a single-family home on the above-listed undersized lot.
Mr. Chairman,
It's not really.
point of order.
undersized.
Point of order. No disrespect to the opposing force, but it is not an undersized lot.
Right.
Could I,
The variances are for lot frontage and lot width,
Lot width.
not for an undersized lot. That's all, just,
Okay, thank
No,
you.
it's
no,
absolutely.
just clarifying, that's all.
That's great.
I think I'm going to hand this back to you and allow you to write in lot width, because I understand these people are.
Could I ask for a point of order on that? My name is Todd Combs. I'm 34 Abbott Lane. I live in the vicinity of this, within 300 feet. And as far as the interpretation of the articles in the zoning laws, this lot does not meet frontage and therefore must be considered a rear lot, is my understanding.
Just for clarification, a rear lot needs 80,000 square feet.
Correct,
So
correct,
They're
but-
not going for a rear lot.
I understand the subtlety of this, but by reading the, note 195-9A says, no structure shall be erected, et cetera, except in conformity with the requirements of this article and unless exempted by this chapter. And the only exemption that's available for a lot that does not meet frontage is the rear lot. It says rear lots shall be allowed by special permit, and their individual lots need not have the required amount of street frontage, provided that all of the fronting conditions can be met for each individual lot lacking such frontage. And one of those requirements is 80,000 square feet. So this is an undersized rear lot by definition.
Mr. Chairman, so any lot that needs any kind of relief is allowed to apply for variances. They are not going for a rear lot, which you're citing. So any lot, if that lot was 20,000 square feet, they're allowed to apply for variances. This is not an undersized lot. This is a non-conforming lot because it doesn't have the width or the frontage. Those are the issues. You need to take the 80,000 square foot equation out of it, because it's apples and oranges.
Okay, I'll accept that for now. That's certainly an issue that we'll
Okay, that's fine.
continue to highlight. And, one of the concerns here that is, I appreciate that you brought up the map geosite. I would ask that you also turn on the overlay for storm drainage if you could, because I think that highlights a significant issue for this property. But, we contend that this is a rear lot by our interpretation of the code, and that it doesn't meet the 80,000 square feet. It doesn't meet the requirement for a minimum of a 50-foot width lot width. At any point in the lot, the access road is only 40 feet wide. And the third requirement is there should be a turnaround for an SU-30 vehicle, which requires a 42-foot turning radius or an 84-foot diameter cul-de-sac, essentially. And so those are the three things that we think mean that this lot does not meet the requirements of the zoning laws. But in addition, if you look at the, could I approach this for a second?
Certainly.
I've lived in this home for 26 years, so I'm very familiar with the drainage that comes across Abbott Lane into my neighbor's lot on either side of my property. And if they zoom in, the point that I would make is that drainage that comes from the Bentley Lane property is 18 inches in diameter. And multiple times throughout the year, seasonally, that drainage pipe is at capacity. It's fully loaded draining water. And that, if you do the calculations based on the length of that pipe, the coefficient of friction through the pipe, and all of that, standard equations for drain pipe, represents 80,000 gallons of water a day. Now, I can tell you that we often sit in my home and the roar of the water causes us to go outside and look at these. And I can attest to you for every single year, they've been at or above capacity for extended periods of time. Normally, seasonally, there'll be 1 or 2 days at capacity. But when we have heavy downfalls, storms of exception, it'll be weeks
at capacity. So that's a substantial amount of drainage through that property. And if you follow that storm drain, we're talking about impact to not only Bentley Lane, Abbott Lane, but also Long Meadow as well. So that one of the primary concerns that we have is encroachment of that wetlands, the buffering that provides for a substantial amount of water flowing through there. In addition, this is one of our other major concerns here is this is a hotspot for wildlife. It comes up through Beaver Brook, through Misty Meadows, up through this property. We have seasonal animals. We have that we see only during migration, and then we have animals that we see on a daily basis. And I can tell you this is definitely a conduit for wildlife movement and habitat through this area, and it's been this way forever. So that would have a substantial impact to the community, and both the wetlands issue and the wildlife issue is a major reason why everybody is opposed to this petition. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. If anyone else like to speak, feel free.
Good evening. I'm Andy Thompson. I'm at 24 Long Meadow Road. I'm in a butter. You can see my lot there with that mystery green box. I have no idea what it is. There's nothing there now, but
It's a tennis court or something.
I wish.
Basketball.
My wife would love it. I want to thank Todd. He covered a lot of the issues, and I know you want new stuff from me. And one of the things that I just want to put down for the record is I'm a science teacher. I've been teaching this stuff for 20 years. I've taught in Thailand, Vermont, Maine. Now I'm at Acton Boxborough here in Massachusetts. My students know this. Water has to go somewhere. You can't put a long driveway. You can't put asphalt shingled roofs in areas that are supposed to absorb water, because that water is going to run right off, and we're going to limit the amount of absorptive quality of that wetland. The same thing that's happening to Long Meadow Road is going to happen to Abbott Road. Now, Long Meadow Road, where I live, between myself and the Bowdens at 22 and the Reynolds across the street at 21, we are ground zero for that water coming through. The Reynolds at 21, their lawn is a constant seep, and that water backs up right onto the road, and you can drive right down to that road right now, and you will see it standing there, and you will see the road depressed, the asphalt cracked for a good 80, 100 feet long. And that, if you kind of factor forward, a year into the future, Abbott Road is going to have the same problem. And my concern is that's taxpayer money that it's going to cost to fix that on Long Meadow, and it's going to cost even more to fix it on Abbott, because now you have all the other water that's supposed to be sitting in that property, Zero Bentley, that is now not going to be able to be absorbed. So you have 80,000 gallons a pop a day. Imagine 120. And so what's that going to cost the town? What's that going to cost all of us here as taxpayers over the long term? I really do think that the cost of fixing both roads is going to be a lot more investment than what any sort of tax increase from that property would give the town. My other issue is my wife and I brought our kids to this town 4 years ago, and we were in Danvers, and we were trying to escape a high-density population. People are living on top of each other there. I had people all over the place in Danvers. We came to Chelmsford because of the low population density enshrined in the code here. And that's enshrined in the code. The zoning code is to prevent exactly this from happening. And I'd hate for all of our property values to go down and our tax revenue for the town to go down for the development of this lot. It would be a true shame to rob Peter to pay Paul. Especially considering that, that it was proposed that it'd be a shame to not let the owner of Zero Bentley have any benefit from that property. Well, that owner lives in New Jersey, not in Chelmsford. So it really kind of ticks me off that this is someone who's trying to make money off of our loss and the damage to our roads and the future taxpaying members of Chelmsford. And that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
On the one that they gave us, the cross-hatching represents what?
Yeah, 100-foot buffer.
Buffer, so you can build beyond that, but not on that buffer.
Well, 50,
You can actually build within the 50
Not
foot.
you could build half of that, halfway
Not
through.
without-
You can't, you need to go to the,
Yeah, Wetlands Commission.
And I know there are great concerns about the ones, that we are very, we understand what you're saying, and the lot, these are factors to the topography for sure, but we don't make wetlands determinations. That goes to another board, which is a separate process, but, you know, what we're seeing there is that the 100-foot setback from the wetland proper, and where they can build is 50 feet of that.
Within 50 feet.
Yeah,
if
so
if
half
they
of
get
that.
relief.
Half of what you're seeing, they would be able to, should it be granted, get relief. Something like that, Jerry.
What's this show with the house? Yeah, I get you.
Did you want to respond to any of those
Don't want to cut
comments?
anybody off. If there's anybody-
Oh, yeah, I think we'll leave it open for a
Well,
little bit.
the
I'm
the
gonna
only
leave it
response I
left.
would say is, and Mr. Chairman, you kind of said it, the wetlands issues, the drainage issues are really a purview of the Conservation Commission. And I did say at the beginning that this is kind of a step-by-step process. If for some reason, this board were to view negatively on this property, there'd be no sense to go forward to the Conservation Commission and spend some of that money. This is the first step. This is the first board we're at. I do strongly believe that we can overcome any of the Conservation Commission issues. We can keep it outside that 50-foot no-touch zone that the commission asked for. The house would be going in upland area. For the most part, it's segregated by that drainage system. It's only a single-family home. A single-family home doesn't even, and I could talk drainage all day long, a single-family home, doesn't even trip the stormwater standards for the state of Massachusetts. However, when we get in front of the Conservation Commission, we would certainly make some of those amends and try to design it properly. So again, what we're here for you, or in front of this board asking for, is to look at the property lines themselves and whether, this lot is a viable lot.
Thank you. Mark, are you aware that, is it an RA or an RB lot?
RB.
RB?
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, it's RB.
Good evening. My name is Carol Kivlin Comans, and I live at 34 Abbott Lane in Chelmsford, Mass. I've been a resident of this town for 62 years, and I've been here for the development. I taught here for 35 years. I'm actually speaking for my buddy back there. Could you raise your hand there, please, Mr. Cook? Mr. Cook is an original owner, would be living in front of this property if it were to develop. And the one thing that Mr. Cook said to me when we were organizing to come here tonight was this. In 1960, when he bought his home, he said to Mr. Mann, the original developer, "What's going to happen to that lot behind my house?" And Mr. Mann said, "You will never have to worry about it. That lot has so many problems, it will never be developed." Well, 60 years later, and there's the same lot with the same problems, only now we have all the drainage coming from Long Meadow, which was developed after. Thank you.
Is he at 20? At 20, what's his address?
22.
22, okay. Just trying to figure out how this all lays out.
I just to say, Mr. Chair, that 60 years ago, back in 1959, and whether we like it or don't like it, there was no municipal sewer. And I would contend to this board that without the municipal sewer, if we had to place a septic system on this lot, or do some of the other amenities that you'd have to do in an unsewered area, then we would certainly have a few more hurdles to jump over. However, and again, for better or for worse, The fact that municipal sewer is available on this lot, the fact that municipal water is available on this lot. It takes a lot of those development issues that were around 60 years ago and kind of puts some of those to bed.
Thank you.
Just curious about the grade of the proposed lot. That house looks pretty dead center in the middle of the lot, and is that below street grade? Do you need a grinder pump for sewage?
I don't believe so. However, I will say that we have not done the topographic survey yet. However, we do have the as-built plans. I pulled the as-built plans from Weston and Sampson when they put the sewer in there. And as the sewer comes around the corner of Bentley Lane, it is fairly deep. However, I do not have that information at my fingertips to tell this board one way or the other.
Is there a stub?
There is a stub.
There is a
Oh,
stub?
sorry. Yep, and I checked, they did put a stub, and I can show you that, but they put a stub right at the corner, right where the right-of-way access is.
I have a question for Mr. Malisi.
If you could address it to us.
Oh,
we'll-
okay, fine. My question would be, would any fill be needed to build on this property?
Ms. Melissy?
Again,
keep it civil.
I don't have all those answers here. I have walked the property. It's a fairly gentle grade. It does fall off, as you can see some of the topography lines here. It falls off from Bentley Lane into where the wetlands are. Obviously, that's where the drainage system comes from. There may be some fill that needed to be bring the road, the gravel base for the driveway, and maybe some surrounding areas for the foundation itself. But we would not expect any large amount of earthwork that have to be done.
Thank you. Any further comments? We'll let that young lady,
Regarding the bringing in fill and gravel, could you address what the fire department has said on this issue
I am
regarding?
going to read the letters in.
Okay, because that would mean bringing in gravel to make the road sufficient to handle the weight of the fire engines. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be the case.
Does the property have a lien on it at this time?
So I'm not sure I can answer that, but I do need your name and address, please.
Elaine Choquette, 12 Long Meadow Road, Chelmsford.
Thank you.
There's a history of taxes unpaid on this property. Going back to 2007, apparently the taxes go unpaid, and then the 2007, and the land is taken by the town. They call it a collector of taxes, town of Chelmsford, and hereby take for said town the following described land, and it goes back and forth through the years. So, my question
It's not part
is.
of our decision criteria, but I would imagine that at some point, the taxes would be, I don't think there's any mechanism to stop the building from being developed if they're not in, I don't honestly know the answer. to that.
Technically, we don't issue a building permit if there's taxes owed.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
would think.
okay, so they would not be able to get a building permit until that was really resolved. So should they get permission, they would have to be current on their taxes. Good to know. I'll take a moment and read the letters in at this point.
There's more. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're welcome to do it, and we can comment after the letters as well, but come right up, go ahead.
Sorry.
That's all right, don't be.
Sorry to interrupt. Audrey Demanian, 25 Bentley Lane. I'm sorry, I have a cold and I lost my voice.
Sorry for that.
My comment is that this proposed development doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood. We don't have any homes in the neighborhood that do not have frontage. All the homes are the adequate size and width, and this just doesn't seem to fit in. The one more comment on fire safety, where the proposed driveway is where the snow goes in the wintertime. It's at the end of the road. And We're just concerned about the snow, or having, even cars in your driveway. How would a fire truck get in there? How does it turn around? And that's it.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna read the letters in. Actually, I will let Ms. Malesi finish that,
I mean,
statement up.
going back and forth, and I would say that, again, it's a single-family home, it's a single-family neighborhood. I don't think it's gonna take anything away from the neighborhood itself. You drive around Chelmsford, this neighborhood, there's always long driveways. And I know the fire department, we read that, and it's a fairly standard comment that is made through some of these proceedings. The driveway that's put there needs to take concrete trucks for the foundation. It's certainly gonna be able to withstand the loading of a fire truck. And again, typically, and again, if we were to prevail at this type of hearing, or this hearing itself, I would imagine that would be a condition. And so, we've designed driveways to handle the 86,000-pound wheel load of the Chelmsford fire trucks, and we would continue to do so.
Thank you. I have a letter from the building department regarding Brian Melissy, Whitman and Bingham Associates, Bentley Lane. There are no concerns. I have a letter from the Chelmsford Water District citing no concerns for Bentley Lane, Brian Melissy. I have a letter from the Board of Health citing no concerns, Brian Melissy, Bentley Lane. Community Development has no concerns, though there is a note. Unlike many other variance requests, this one is certainly unique, related to lot shape, primarily as it relates to the requested zoning relief. I'm not quite sure what he means.
That's a summary of the,
I think his lot shape is unique,
yeah.
He
basically.
feels the lot shape is primarily, certainly nice to have Evan's opinion. I have a letter from the police department citing no concerns for Brian Melissy, Bentley Lane. And a letter from the Chelmsford Fire Prevention, which I will read in. Bentley Lane, proposal to build a new home. Dear members of the board, water supply appears adequate. Fire hydrant locations are not shown on the plan. However, the Chelmsford Fire Department requires a hydrant within 500 feet of any building for manual firefighting operations. Access for firefighting apparatus and emergency vehicles shall be achieved by the proposed 16-foot wide driveway. The driveway shall be built to withstand the weight of the heaviest piece of apparatus in the Chelmsford Fire Department, ladder 1, 83,000 pounds. The applicant shall submit an application to the Town of Chelmsford 911 Committee and its chairperson, Town Clerk Tricia Juez, for an address. The address shall be clearly and plainly marked so as to be visible on Bentley Lane approaching from either direction. This office would approve this plan with these conditions, and I ask the board to make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Captain Dan Kostafis, Chelmsford Fire Department. I have a letter from engineering regarding Brian Melissy and Whitman Bingham on Bentley Lane. See the attached letter. This is from the Department of Public Works. Christina Papadopoulos, May 1st, 2018, to the Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals from Public Works. Reason Bentley Lane, MP 70-311-9 and 70-311-25 variance request. Dear board members, the office has reviewed the submitted application for a new lot at Bentley Lane. Based upon review and relief being granted, we have the following comments. The lot will require a sewer connection. This new connection will be subject to all required permits and applicable fees. 2, an established drainage way exists through the rear of the property. This drainage way receives runoff from the public roads. This drainage must not be altered in any way. Before building permits are issued, we request that the applicant coordinate with the engineering division. If you have any questions, please contact this office. Sincerely, Christina Papadopoulos, Town Engineer. And I have a letter from
Conservation.
Conservation, that's okay, so I have a letter from Conservation Center Water has no concerns, which I think I have two of. And I have a letter from Chelmsford Conservation regarding 0 Bentley Lane from Katie Messier, Conservation Agent Planner. A wetland delineation must be completed for the site. The current submitted plan does not show flagged wetlands or buffer zones. It is my recommendation to the ZBA that this should be taken into consideration when making any decisions on this proposal. It appears via GIS that there is a wetland and accompanying intermittent stream. Any work within 100 feet of the area is subject to conservation review and permitting. At this point, I believe the conservation permitting may be necessary. Kate Messier. Those are the letters. Is there any more public comment? There's two, so just queue up and we'll get through it.
Good evening. My name is David Comans. I live at 33 Abbott Lane. I've lived in the neighborhood since I was 6 when my parents moved in, so I have familiarity with the neighborhood as well. My question mostly is about the lot width, that, it is 40 feet. I could also use clarification. The fire department just specified a 16-foot driveway. I thought for SU-30 vehicles it was a 20-foot. And I guess my question really is, how far from property lines are, obviously structures are 40 feet delineated by the dotted line?
Actually.
0, okay.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, because the lot is so small at 40 feet despite the 62-foot variance. So those are my only questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's driveway width for fire engineers that you wanted
Well, also 0 feet apparently.
Okay.
There's no setback for pavement. You can pave right up to your property line, should you want to.
Audrey Domanian, 25 Bentley Lane. I just wanted to respond to the comment that it's a long driveway and would fit into the neighborhood. It's not just a long driveway. It's a house behind a house. 7 houses. It's sandwiched in between, actually, it's 3 roads: Bentley Lane, Long Meadow Road, and Abbott Lane. It's not just a simple house with a long driveway. That was my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy Thompson again. So the comment from the developer is, or the engineer, was that it would not affect the neighborhood or wouldn't affect the residents. There's 60 people who've signed otherwise. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Good evening. Leo Rallowitz, 18 Bentley Lane, since December 1st, 1960. When you go in through that right-of-way, which I'd like to give the developer a bill for the stump pile they left many years ago that we cleaned up because it looked terrible next to our house. This has been wet and animals habitat for years, all the way through. Plus, if you want to see some of the biggest mosquitoes in the state of Massachusetts, go stand for 15 minutes in that plot this time of the year. They're bigger than dump trucks. If you've ever worked there. I have a garden right off of there, and if after 3:30 in the afternoon, you cannot stand and work.
I can imagine.
And I'm 25 feet from the woods. I'm not in the woods. Plus, there becomes we were told we can't take trees down because of wetlands and this and that. Now, how are they going to do? They've got to leave that lot basically intact with the trees.
There are restrictions that conservation should.
Yeah,
should
but
they
then
move ahead.
and on the driveway, you've got 80 feet from where Bentley Lane, the corner of Bentley Lane is now, into the access of the 40-foot going into the 1.52 acres. Then you gotta have the turnaround for the fire trucks. So you're gonna have 100 and something feet of driveway. When you run your sewer utilities, electricity, water, all of those things in there, I don't like to take away the engineer's bread and butter. But when you put that on the cost of a house lot, I don't see how you can justify building a single-family home on that piece of property because you've got 125 plus feet of basically built to road spec driveway. So the fire engines can get in there and turn around should anything happen. This is costly. I mean, and then the last posting was for $190,000 for the lot that was on Zillow.
I mean,
How do you-
if
how-
people wanna
if-
make the investment, it's really, and I respect what you're saying, it's just not
But
something
then-
we're
but-
gonna use in our, we're not gonna determine whether it's a good idea economically or not. It's not our purview.
I know, but do you want something started in there and then left there either?
Oh, no, I don't, no, I don't,
I mean,
I
you've got,
appreciate your point. I'm just trying to tell you that we can make a determination based on facts. The economic viability of a lot is.
well,
not
there's
one.
no facts with the plan on what size of house, anything like this. Right now, and you gotta make a determination.
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, touche, all of a sudden. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Andrew Domanian, and I also heard you say that there's an intermittent stream. The water that is water that fills into a catch basin, and then the catch basin releases that water right into the lot. And also, water is directed from Bentley Lane right into the lot. So the front of that lot is also wet.
Well, there certainly, should this move ahead,
Yeah.
be a wetlands determination where a wetland scientist will say, in fact, this is the edge of wetlands, and from that point, there are restrictions 25, 50, and 100 feet from there. A wetland science will determine the edge of wetlands being a botanical or a soil-based calculation. Is it wetland based on soil and the botany that's there?
The Long Meadow Road catch basin releases into the Zero Bentley Lane. And the reason why I wanted to mention that is also the front of the lot is very wet. Ferns grow there, and it's very wet. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there an easement for the drainage on the property, Brett? Is it just,
No, there's no recorded easements on the property at all.
It's listed here on the GIS as a hydrologic.
I'm just trying to understand how all that drainage ended up on that property without an easement, but.
But it's protected by the fact that it is wetlands now, so I mean, you can't go in and
Yeah, I
fill it,
understand. It's
cover
there
it,
to
right,
stay.
but there is no,
Much like an easement. would
correct,
grant you
but
that
there is no
protection.
formal drainage easement on the property.
Okay.
I grew up playing in all that area back there, back in front, in back of Rolowitz's house and in back of mine, where he was telling the Meadow Road runoff goes. It's not just that it's wet, it's that it's all springs. And the last time I went down there into that low spot, it was a few years ago when we were having a horrible drought. It didn't rain at all, but there was still water coming up from the springs in that area. I'm sure there was still water coming up from behind Leo's house too. It's all springs, that whole thing. You won't, you know, what are you gonna do to stop the water? You can't stop water.
No, you can't.
Huh?
No, you can't.
That's right.
Todd Combs, 34 Abbott Lane. I just want to comment on this being an intermittent stream. I have never witnessed either drainage easement on either side of my property going dry, even in the driest of summers. Never have they gone dry. There's always drainage out of this property. Thank you.
It was in the 60s, but but it hasn't been in years, since the 70s.
Long time ago.
I'm John Skinner from 32 Abbott Lane. And this is a question just of curiosity because I'm listening to all this going back and forth. And I'm not quite sure that the conservation issue, in my opinion, is something that actually probably should be addressed before a zoning variance is given. It seems to me that, the horse is behind the cart right now, because that's a major concern that we have, and it appears to me, I may be totally wrong, but it appears to me that, if you arm me with a variance, and then I go in to see the Conservation Commission, and I say, well, the zoning board gave me the variance, so now it's just up to you guys. It appears to me that strengthens the position of the seller and weakens the position of the community. And as you can see, we're all here. And we are here because we're concerned, and we want to have our voices heard. It just seems to me that the recommendation really from this board should be, let's get the Conservation Commission to establish whether or not this property is even buildable on. I mean, giving a
We
variance.
respect your opinion, and I think that, and probably Mr. Melisi has thought his strategy through. He is certainly trying to achieve a goal here.
Right.
That is his job. And he may feel that by going to conservation, it would be an advantage before, and he has the right to do either.
I'm sure he
I
does.
appreciate your concern, but he is absolutely within his rights to come before us without conservation.
Correct, and you have the right to say, you know what, we want to wait to hear that. I'm sure you can do
We
that.
would have that ability, I think. If there's anything to stop us from continuing and waiting for conservation.
And if I would, Mr. Chair, and with all due respect, I understand exactly that comment. I chose to come to this board first. Again, I think I brought it up in my initial presentation, the fact that if for some reason we cannot get over the hurdle of the property lines, it would really just be wasting a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of these people's time. They're gonna get notified of the conservation hearings. They'll know that. So I chose, wasn't my client, and I'm not trying to be underhanded in any way, shape, or form,
No,
but I chose
I understand
to
that.
start the filing here and kind of get the ball rolling, so.
Todd Combs again. I know that there's a lot of angst about the wildlife and wetlands, and properly so, because it impacts our property values directly, and our quality of life in that area, which we all really appreciate that. But I just want to remind the board, this is a non-conforming lot, and it is not buildable unless you grant a variance. And there is strong opposition from everybody in adjacent lots and everybody in the community around this property that are long-term residents of Chelmsford that oppose this variance, and we humbly request that you deny this variance.
If I may, Mr. Chair, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't see it.
My name is Judith Taylor, and I'm at 26 Long Meadow Road. Two things. The first one is that when my parents bought their lot in 1961, which is now mine, it was on all the town plans and all the maps of the town as Flaggy Meadow. So the whole development was built on springs and all this other kind of thing. Every year I get massive runoff. Fortunately, my house is high, but in the back of the yard. Secondly, I have a little bit of concern because I checked my plat plan, and on my plat plan, it still indicates that that's a right-of-way that exits onto Bentley and down down Long Meadow Road. I'm just curious as to how this is going to impact access in and out of there, because people still use it. I mean, it's a walking trail, and a lot of people walk down it and things like that. It's always been a right-of-way, and as I said, it's on my plat plan. I don't know whether that this is the right venue to discuss this, but it's somewhat concerning to me.
I don't know the plot plan and the right-of-way.
It's right up top, yeah.
I believe it, and we're going to ask Ms. Melissy to present the
Yeah.
land court decision.
Because they're gonna put the driveway right
Did you-
through.
I looked it up, and
what is
it's
listed.
more of a partition, so it looks like it was like an estate issue where they had to partition the heirs, so it wasn't really, I guess, from what I can read on the docket, it doesn't look like it, all it says about it is that they would have to go before the zoning board of appeals in order to obtain a variance for lack of necessary frontage. So it wasn't really about, I guess, the actual lot, it was more about partitioning the interests.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, no, I was just curious, because I just happened to say, well, it's still a right-of-way according to my deed.
Yeah.
Up here.
I mean, at this point, it is a legal lot, not a legal conforming lot, but a
Yeah.
legal lot, meaning there's ownership of both the right-of-way and the square of property to the
Yeah.
rear. So the the walking path you're talking about is just.
Just
by
what
design-
somebody
right.
uses.
Someone actually owns that property, so.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah, I
technically,
was
it's
just- I
probably a
was just
trespass
curious.
to be on it, but it's
But-
not obviously enforced. I'm not trying to make any issue
But
there.
there's tremendous amounts of water back there. And if they start blocking off drainage, we're in real trouble.
I'm sorry, David Combs, 33 Abbott Lane. Quick question again. I know it's about zoning, but last quick question is, the impact of altering the water there and the town runoff, if that runoff is proven to be causing an issue to damage to people's homes because it has been altered, don't we have something we can do about that? Like, isn't that going to be recourse against town? Just a consideration, because the town obviously planned to put that water runoff in there somehow and utilize that land. So just wanted to give the zoning board the recognition that that could impact many houses. And all of those people have signed and are present and are cognizant. So we will be very attentive about that. So until sewer went in, I know that Abbott Lane, living there, we had very many flooded basements. So it's a very volatile area with flooding. And just for the record,
No, it's very,
thank
very
you.
wet. The whole area is. Are there any further questions at this point? From the board?
It seems like Mark and I want to do a sidewalk.
That is a very good idea.
Yeah, that's
Speak
what
into
we're
the mic.
thinking.
Oh, okay.
We definitely,
A sidewalk.
a site walk. We'd like to go out to walk this property.
Well, I think that's a very good idea. May 10th.
Not when the mosquitoes are there.
Before 3:30.
I'm gonna be looking for those
September might be good.
sometime before 3 o'clock.
So I would suggest a Saturday, either the 19th or the 26th of May.
I can't, I'm away.
You're away.
Yeah, I'm away. The 19th, I
This
could do it
weekend,
early in the
it's-
morning.
It's really gonna be difficult. It's gonna be very wet tomorrow,
Memorial Day
Saturday.
weekend,
Yeah.
so.
We have to do it as a group, or can we go individually?
We can with the
Could it be-
commission.
Could it be during the week?
Does somebody wanna think about when we
Well,
could do
before
that?
our next meeting.
Just, I'd go away on the 19th. I'm not back till the 30th.
Okay. You wanna do, so we have June 8th is our next meeting?
June 7th, I think?
Thursday, June 7th. Do you want to make it just before the meeting?
That's
June
okay.
2nd?
We can meet there at 6 o'clock?
7th or the 2nd?
Yeah, like, right before this.
June 7th is a Thursday. We'll do it
Right. Oh, you're doing it
at
before the
6
So just do
o'clock.
it before the meeting.
Okay.
Meet there, 5:30
Is
or.
that acceptable, Brian? You could be there?
Absolutely, and I was going to offer up, I mean, you guys wanted,
If I could ask you to pin in some fashion the two corners of the frontage and probably the four corners of the house as proposed, I think that would be very helpful. Anything else the board would like to see?
Could we also get a copy of the land court? I know you looked at it, but. I'd like
Yeah,
to-
all I have is the docket, I don't have the
No, I
actual
know, I know.
documents, so if there's other stuff in that regard, then. yeah.
not an attorney, I only have the one, I can give it to you, and I can make copies for everyone.
Yeah, I'd like to read it, you know?
You know,
I read engineering documents, but that may just be
Put it in the record.
I'd rather
Get
read
some
engineering
copies.
documents too. Yeah, if we could, yeah, that'd be good.
So, Mr. Chair, I apologize, but, so June 7th at 6 o'clock
6 o'clock.
prior to the meeting.
Could I say something?
Well,
about
hang-
Bentley Lane?
You certainly can, we're just
1
gonna
second.
get through this,
And you wanted the two corners of the frontage, as well as some rough corners on where we show that house
I
box.
think that would be very helpful. If you're not moving ahead with the conservation at all at this point, we'll just have to do our best to kind of guess at that.
Well, what I can tell you is, and again, I realize that this board isn't the Conservation Commission, but the wetlands have been flagged while the crew was out there.
Well, the wetland has been flagged.
It has been flagged.
Oh,
It's
good.
just, I just didn't have enough time to put it on the plan. So what I can tell you is that while the field crews are out there providing this information for your site walk, we'll have it delineated, and we will have it on a plan for the next meeting.
Okay.
And again, I realize you're not the Conservation Commission, but just to show you some proximities of where things are. And I do
I
think
think it would be helpful for
a site walk
visual
will
for
tell a
Yeah,
thousand words.
I mean,
so.
we're not, but obviously there's some major questions about that are in front of us now,
No,
so.
absolutely, without a doubt. And I try to provide you as much info as I can.
On the right of way or the parcel that goes into this, what is the neck down area? What's the minimum dimension? I couldn't see it. I don't know if you had that
40
marked.
was
It's the
Was
40
it 40? Where it necks down? Okay, because I didn't see it marked
And
across
again,
there.
that's what I said, we looked at the width.
Like I saw it
Was
as-
it 50 feet, maybe we could go to a rear lot, but we couldn't, so where it necks
Okay,
down, it's a little.
so that
strange
is
to see
40
this.
right there.
That's where the-
Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am?
I just wanted to say, I'm not in a butter, I live at 4 Bentley Lane, which is the first house on Bentley Lane. And, the last really bad snowstorm that we had power out of, because Bentley Lane is considered a 3rd street, so we're the last ones to get power. This, the last storm of March, we lucked out because the whole street went down with power, so they had to restore power because they had live electrical wires in the street right in front of my house. So we were only without power for 36 hours, which was really great. But the storm before that, which was, I think, 5 years ago in April, Bentley Lane was without power for, I think, 5 days. I think the snowstorm was on a Wednesday, and people on Bentley Lane did not get power until Sunday. And I have a whole house generator. So my neighbors across the street, number 5, Byrne, who is not here tonight, the only way that he can keep his cellar dry during the winter with the snow is 2 sump pumps that go all winter long, that drain from the top of Long Meadow, and the underground stream, which melts the snow periodically, comes through the back of his house and goes under Bentley Lane and winds up probably, we'll say, at 11 Bentley Lane, goes under Bentley Lane and continues over to Long Meadow, okay? So, but it starts at the top of Long Meadow, and it has long been a madness of all the people who live on the other side of Bentley Lane. I remember the Rivards, we used to call it their annual dig. Every year they had to have new septic systems and everything, and even when the sewer went in, it was the same thing. They had to have this moat around their house with new gravel every year, because when the snows melted, Long Meadow is a slow, gradual slope all the way down Long Meadow, and when the snow started to melt from Westford Street and down Long Meadow, down came the water, even after the sewer was put in. And so I ran orange cords from my whole house generator to his house, because they had to move out because they had no heat, to save the man's house because there were 8 inches of water in his cellar when they moved out, and the wife was crying, and I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it, and I did. And when they came back on Sunday night, they still had 8 inches of water, which they were able to take care of. But for that particular snowstorm, that man would have lost his house in 5 days if the water had been able not to be stopped by these 2 sump pumps. So this year, and he couldn't believe it would happen again. He actually borrowed a generator from a coworker and put it to work again with the same thing. So not only is Longmeadow involved, but I don't know how many houses I know my neighbor, certainly, he's, long said, and the man who lived before that, he used to have to do the whole thing over every springtime. And the person who lives, let me see, I live at 4, so this must be 5, Bentley, across this way, and it's just recently changed hands, and the people that live there, because I've lived there for 44 years, they tried to put in a lanai room off, because it's like a raised ranch with 3 bedrooms. So they decided they would put a big lanai room, and the same thing. They could not put a foundation in the bottom of the house for the lanai room unless they built a trench, which was like 2 feet wide all the way around the back end of the house. And that's how they got the cement frame for the lanai room. So the water table starts at the top of Longmeadow, and there's, as they said so well, there are streams everywhere. And if you do walk, and I welcome you, go up Bentley Lane and see, even now, you can see the water coming from the top of Longmeadow all the way down the back end through the catch basins and underneath Bentley Lane, and then it goes under, I think, 11 or 13, and then it goes over to Longmeadow. So it is really quite a problem with springs and wetlands and melting snow and melting rain, even with the sewer and all of the other things that they have put in. It's really, you just cannot imagine what is going to happen with all these erudite men saying the water is everywhere and cannot be stopped. It's like a force of nature. So I would welcome any of your walking the plot plan and seeing what actually starts at the top of Longmeadow, and you can see it. You can see where the old culverts that they put in, right, to try and divert the water, and it has a will of its own. So, thank you.
Thank you.
If I might, Todd Comans, Abbott Lane. Just a question, and just to respectfully state, I mean, it seems to me, as a citizen of Chelmsford, all of us, 60 people here, 60 people that signed a petition, many people here, don't understand why a non-conforming lot that has so many issues and so much opposition can't simply be rejected by you tonight. Why not? Why isn't that the right thing to be doing, rather than dragging this out, inconveniencing everybody here, and in the end, for what purpose? It is so obvious. Of all the properties in Chelmsford, this one is so clear and obvious that it deserves to be rejected. This is a lot that is going to have a significant negative impact to our community, and I would like you to address why you can't make a motion to simply reject this lot and end this nonsense tonight.
Well, I can certainly say that one of the board members wants to walk it, and that is what we're going to do. So with that, we won't close the public hearing, and we're going to walk it. It's to give ourselves the best it's not to say we won't go out there and be in complete agreement with you. We have no agenda. The goal is if the lot should be built, we want to build it. We don't want to build things that shouldn't be built. Mr. Carrata makes a very good point that he wants to physically see it. I think, based on the testimony, it's only proper that we do look at
Yeah,
it.
I'll address it too. I've heard all the testimony, and I think it's time that we go out there and actually see it, because we don't live close to that. So when somebody talks about, this road and how the water runs and it's hard for us to really fully appreciate it. And if we want to give the applicant their fair due, we should really go out and take a look at it, hear the testimony, or remember what was said, come back here and rediscuss it to make a good decision.
Will we all be properly notified, everybody that's on this list?
You're being notified tonight
I think
when
you
they
just
continue it
did.
to a specific date.
You won't be mailed a notification. There's going to be a meeting on
June 7th.
7th,
Right.
at 7 o'clock. We're going to walk the site ourselves.
At 6.
At 6 o'clock. We're gonna take it in and see what we've talked about. It's really just to be fair. We're not, we have no
Agenda.
opinion, I think, until we really have felt we understand it well enough to define it.
Right.
I understand your concerns. I'm very, I gotta tell you, in the years I've been sitting here, I've never seen 60 people sign a petition, so I take that very seriously. I think it holds weight with me. It's very amazing to me, incidentally, that so many of your families have generationally lived there.
It's the wildlife.
It's a little unusual. That's very-
It's the wildlife.
not the park,
I
it's
just
not
need,
neighbors
can
or
I
those
just have
things that are running
a
around.
clarification? Thank you for coming and walking the property. That's huge to me. And I understand that he's doing his job. Mr. Malisi's doing a job.
Yeah.
My question is, could we have a neighborhood representative at that walk?
I cannot speak for, I don't own the property. If Ms. Melissy or his agent feels it's okay, I would strongly suggest it would be like one person.
It would really be
We
a
don't
token
need a
of
parade, per se.
across the aisle.
Well, you need to walk through my property and John's property to see what I was talking about with the steep across Long Meadow Road and see the damage to that road. That's the start of the spring that comes all the way down. So I grant you permission to come to my property. We can start to walk there right down into the lot.
Brian, I would just warn you that when you're out there, you're all together and you're not in a public meeting. So any deliberations that might take place.
We won't be
might-
discussing.
Yeah, we
It
can't
could-
discuss.
Right.
You can ask questions.
You can
Wait,
answer,
is there
it's
such a thing?
wise to answer their questions and that's it. I mean, they
Yeah.
can't talk. It's just public, open meeting.
You mean we can't talk among ourselves?
Yes.
You
We
can
can't take
ask
testimony.
questions, you cannot state
Yeah.
opinions.
Right.
Basically observe and report at a public
And we're
meeting.
trying to do it right before the meeting, so when we come back in here,
Then you can discuss.
we'll be fresh. You folks can come up, and then it'll probably make a lot more sense to us as we, reference what we had just seen.
Was the decision on the allowing?
Yeah,
a
we certainly
representative?
don't have any problem. But what we would like to do, I don't own the lot, my client doesn't own the lot, we just want to double check. I know it always seems like a bit of a cop-out, but there's insurance reasons and things like that.
I
So
understand,
I
I
have
understand.
zero issue with inviting the neighbors and the abutters. They probably know more about that property than I do. Maybe I'll learn something. However, I just want a chance to check with the owners of the property to make sure that we have permission to do that. And I can get back to Colleen with that. And
Okay.
again,
Yeah, if the site walk is refused, that's beyond our view. It's possible we'll continue down to the neighbor's house and observe it from the neighbor's
And
house.
again,
So
I
we'll
would-
continue the sidewalk.
I would hope there wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
And that we can just, we can do the sidewalk and have a representative. We have no issue with that.
I think in the interest of convenience for us, we'll meet at the 0 Bentley Road address, which is the sharp turn on Bentley.
Yeah, where the
And then we can
right-of-way
go
is.
in, and if they choose, we can go around to Longview and Abbott and see, the whole area. I'm fairly familiar with it, but I would certainly like to see it again. That being said, we've digested a lot of information tonight. I'm going to continue the hearing till June 7th at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, okay.
Appreciate your input. That's
Didn't know if
very,
we had other
very
ones.
good. I need a motion
Yeah,
to
right,
continue.
that's what I mean.
I will do a motion to continue to June 7th.
I'll
Second
second.
by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
We haven't closed the public hearing, but we can't take any more testimony this evening.
I'm not going to testify.
You are testifying.
I just
You
want
can't
to
stand
know
there, it's illegal.
the date and time that you're going to be there.
June 7th
At
at
6.
6 PM.
Okay.
At 0 Bentley Lane. And then at 7 PM, we'll be here again to deliberate what we've discussed there.
Okay.
Ground zero.
I have a question that's totally unrelated to any of this. How do I get to an elevator?
Oh.
We can help you with that.
Take a left.
Go,
Just go out to the left and it's straight ahead to
I know that one
the,
there, but that doesn't take me out back. I've had to park out in that.
Sure, sure.
When you cross Long Meadow over on Westwood Street, that was Spalding Apple Auction. Maybe you remember the Oxbow cider mill at one time?
no, I'm from Chelmsford 20 years, but I don't remember that.
Only 20
It
years?
was the blowing.
Yeah, that's.
Actually 30.
Yeah,
30 years
say,
I've been
I've
here.
been
yeah.
30,
Still
so.
a blower.
Right,
40, they were
right.
telling my mother she was a blower.
Yeah, if the cat has kittens in the oven, I don't call them muffins.
But there was an apple auction, and all of those streams run under Westford Street, right where the power grid changes. Right there. There's a dip, and you see little wetlands off to the right that goes up, and that's where the power grid changes for different, they're on a different grid. Ours
Oh,
comes
is
from
that,
Hunt
that's where
Road.
one came from one and one came from the other?
Yeah.
You could have probably your neighbor'd be out, yeah.
I've seen it, I've seen
Yeah.
it. A million springs.
The whole area, it's got a lot of glacial till, which doesn't drain very well, and the water continues along the surface or just
The
subsurface.
sewer went
Is this what you looked
A
up?
lot of it got
The lower court
exacerbated
decision?
because they permitted
I don't really
houses.
see a whole lot of,
I don't know if they're on.
it's,
don't
like I
know.
said, it's more about the
I was
interest,
out of
like this
town for a
person
while.
owned it and then they died, so
this-
then it went to their heirs and then their heirs. and,
but
like,
is
a
there
bunch
any
of-
judgment on this? I don't
Yeah,
see-
it's the last,
Oh, I didn't see
last two
that.
pages.
I didn't,
It just
Only
ignored
you
me.
get control of this.
Right on the curb.
I'm familiar with that, I like it.
I didn't think so either.
So is that thing free
Colleen,
and
you
clear?
taking control over
They
this.
own it? Is that definite? I mean, what,
I would have to read this, I don't know.
what is she talking about that right away on her?
Jeez, there's people
They
waiting.
have that much ice
I
on
don't
the
know what
street
she was talking about, call order.
Until they,
Just in
until
case.
they ran it into the storm drain. But it still goes,
I have to read it.
and then when you're in serious, but Thompson's property, all of them.
I think they would do a title search and make
It
sure,
was
that-
wet then.
right?
Didn't get any dry around
No,
us.
7 Bentley Lane across.
Yeah, they're not gonna be able to take any
I
action
have a
with it if
couple
they
more
don't.
of these to get to, sir, but I
right.
appreciate
No,
the
but sometimes the
history.
title
you.
search will
Thank you.
turn up
Thank
something
you.
like that, a right of way that's not,
Moving right along.
We got people
it's got a
waiting.
right of way that's public right of way, right?
Hey, here's the
You
chair.
can't use it as his driveway.
Right.
When you're the chair, you can do whatever you want.
Let's go.
Our next meeting is Christopher and Becky Condi, 8 Holt Street, seeking a special permit under 195.58E-2 to construct a new second-level addition to an existing non-conforming structure, lot area, frontage, and side setbacks. Thank you.
These things are such a.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Becky
I get
DeSilva
like a half a
Condi,
screen
8
now.
Holt Street, Chelmsford.
I'm Christopher Condi, 8 Holt Street, North Chelmsford. And I'm glad the room cleared out.
Me too.
You don't have papers? Oh, I gotta look your pack. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we don't want to look at that anymore.
Done with that.
Okay, so I want to read that.
I'm going to do a drive-by.
Give us something else to look at. Oh, we're just talking breezeways. Oh, LAA, huh? Nice.
So we are proposing to
Limited
construct a
accessible.
second floor on our current one-story home, converting it from a ranch to a colonial. And we were told that due to our lot size, that we would require a special permit in order to move forward, which is why we're here.
What's the lot size?
A quarter acre.
I was looking for your pretty picture.
It's a 1.5 story right now?
No, it's just a one. It has a walkout basement.
I'm just looking at
Yeah.
what
So
the
it's
plan says.
it's just,
right
it's a
now.
ranch with a walkout basement?
It's a ranch, but our
So
house, the
topography
road
goes down,
slopes.
yeah.
Yeah, so from the front of the house, and actually I had included, I don't know if it's in your file, a
Oh, there we
photo.
go.
There it is, yep. So from the road, you can see it's a one-story, but because the whole street slopes upward,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have the garage on the side, and,
Underneath, yeah.
yeah.
So it's gonna be the same measurements? You're not expanding out on the second floor?
The only spot where we are expanding out, the two current horizontal windows, those will be 2 bedrooms on the second level, and that will just bump out, the front will bump out 2 feet, but that will still remain within the 5-foot current bump out of our living room.
So the foundation will stay the same, if that's what you mean, the footprint.
The footprint's the same?
Yes,
So
we're
it's
just
not-
going up.
Yeah,
We're
okay.
going up.
We're looking at the wrong thing here.
Yeah, here we go. So as you can see,
The plan, you tell me what you want to see. and
yeah,
I'll
so as
do
you
that.
can see, it's a ranch,
No, that was the,
but the right side of the house bumps out currently 5 feet.
Plan.
And what we're proposing is to build a full second-story home on the top.
right.
Can we see do you have the rendition up there? Because it's hard to, there we go.
So there's really no dimensional issue. It's just size.
Front setback,
Well, it's all non-conforming.
yeah, it's already there, yeah.
Front, side, and, except for rear, front and side.
Yeah.
Oh, and lot area frontage, which is already fine because it's already existing.
In the structure over 30%.
Right, that's basically what we're granting, is 30%.
And the 750,
750.
exceeding 750.
This is, I don't think this is a limited accessory
Not
apartment.
Oh, it isn't?
No, it's not an in-law.
Oh,
It's not an
just this
in-law,
one,
nope.
okay.
So, point of clarification, lot size is 10,400 square feet, so it's a 20% increase, not 30.
Oh,
Percentages,
We have to allow from 20.
percentages are based on
here we go.
lot size, not
Sliding scale.
And I'm assuming that we're at 100, right?
100% increase. But the allow was only 20.
You're gonna tweak that one too.
Oh, I thought that was.
Concerns for me.
I'm not in charge of tweaking that one. That's Evans.
Jerry, do you have any questions on this application?
No.
Nance?
Nope.
This is pretty easy.
More than half.
No,
I agree.
Nope, now they get the right picture up there, yeah.
I'm going to open this up to the audience and see if anyone has any comments or concerns regarding this application. Seeing none, yay.
No, thankfully, we have a nice dry lot.
There's a big lake
We
here.
do.
Big lake out here.
There is.
Everything drains there.
Actually, they get pretty big as well.
Dump trucks.
They do.
Pickup truck size.
Just for the record, we're being recorded.
I was just gonna say
I think we're
that.
on TV.
Have fun with it, come on.
Okay, so I'm going to read the letters at this point.
Thank you.
From Kate Messier. She has no concerns, that's conservation, regarding 8 Holt. 8 Holt, the community development has no concerns. On 8 Holt Street, the police have no concerns. On 8 Holt Street, engineering has no concerns. The water department has no concerns on 8 Holt Street. The Board of Health has no concerns on 8 Holt Street.
Eat healthy.
Oh, I was trying to say, I live at Hoyt, and it was coming out wrong. Anyways. And the fire prevention has a letter, 8 Holt Street, Christopher and Becky Conde. Dear members of the board, the office has reviewed the proposal for an addition at 8 Holt Street and finds the following. The entire home, existing and new construction, shall be equipped with life safety systems as required by 780 CMR 51, standard for new construction. The home shall have hardwired, interconnected smoke, carbon monoxide, and heat detectors in all required locations. 3 copies of the plans that clearly show all required life safety devices shall be submitted to this office as part of the building permit plan review process. This office would approve of this addition with these conditions, and I ask that the board make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully submitted, Captain Dan Kostofis. Chelmsford Fire Department. That is my letters.
Captain Danny.
Man, think of that one.
Make a motion to close the public hearing, Brian?
Second by Nancy. All in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit under 195-80, subparagraph 2, to allow the new addition at 8 Holt Street.
I second that.
Second by Jerry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Steve's not here?
Thank you very much.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta step out for 1 second. I think I gotta.
I thought Jerry had a.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess,
I think
as long as it takes Jerry.
Pizza's ready. It's probably hungry. It's been a long night already. Oh, boy.
Do you recall?
Don't forget this is one.
Yeah, I'm not, I just, Paul Haverty had spoken about frontage being a different dimensional requirement.
I do.
I just didn't understand what
A different dimensional
I'm
requirement.
asking for a clarification.
Yes.
He's gonna be here at the next meeting, so.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be here tonight. That's what I was thinking because of the
What's that?
other
Yeah.
application. but-
The
he had
frontage,
checked.
and I
Yeah.
read through the material that we were given that I thought had it in it, and I didn't find it. But the frontage has a different weight, if you would, to the variance app. It's
To the
different,
decision.
yeah. I kinda.
But I think that whole opinion was based on Westford Street, which is a completely different animal. Because the one in question on Bentley, has the vehicular access to the buildable portion of the lot.
On their own property.
That
So
was the one that
the
we
thing
had
on
to-
Westford had to
easement?
do with
Cross.
Crossing.
crossing the existing property to get,
To the back.
no,
They left.
crossing the new house lot to get to the old house lot.
Right.
yeah.
So they didn't technically have frontage for vehicular access to the lot.
Even
Because
though they
That's
had
what
it
the
along
opinion was
The
street.
about.
wetlands stopped them from actually using
Oh,
what
yeah,
they
they had
had.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
the
couldn't
strip
access
coming
their own
down.
because of
Then
the
it opened
wetlands.
up
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
So it's
'cause
just
they
a totally
subdivided
different-
it with
different
that coming down.
application.
Because of a wetland.
I remember that, yeah.
This one, Bentley's not the same issue.
Okay, it was in the back of my mind, and I
Yeah.
couldn't remember what we determined.
Okay.
Hey, Butch, how was Florida? That was all right. All right, yeah. You weren't up here, believe me, it was better than all right. I heard it was a cold winter down there, though, huh? Yeah, a little bit. My mom said it wasn't the best, but trust me, it was better than up here. We had a winter.
Hey, you want me to sit in and take his place until he shows up?
Would you mind? I think you ought to get on the board. We have room.
We need people, we
You
need.
can't handle the truth.
Probably right.
Application, you can be here every month for
That'd
this
make
kind
for
of
some
fun.
interesting meetings, I think.
Doesn't need to be on any committee.
It's a committee of one.
There's no conflict,
I
Arlene.
think you just got overruled.
At least not in the public, maybe at home.
If elected, I will not serve. They used to give us water. Those must be
I know, we used to get water and everything. We
I've
get
got
like
a lot of
nothing.
reading I do,
Coffee,
too.
you want me to get you some water?
Yeah, I'll have
got
a
a flask.
latte
I'll
again.
do-
That I can't help you with. Jeez, talk about spoiling. Last
No, I don't
board-
need it. I'm just funning.
No.
Don't you get it? That's
Last
all.
board, I brought
Relax.
cold bottled water, and then they expected it every single time.
Perrier, yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
was
why
like-
not?
I'm like, really?
You know, we're already in overtime. I know we're on time and a half now, but you know.
Right, right. I'm gonna get out of here before 9, I promise you.
Paul told it though.
All right, our next hearing is David and Maria Stafford, 31 Kensington. They're seeking a special permit under 195-C1, C2 and 3, and D1 and 2 to construct a new 7-foot by 31 breezeway and a 31 by 31 garage addition with a second level to be for an LAA, which would exceed the maximum 750 square feet to a non-conforming structure, lot area, front setback, which will increase the structure over the allowable 30%. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Matthew Stafford, 31 Kensington Drive. This is my mom, Maria Stafford. She's actually the property owner. We're here because we would like to, obviously, as you just listed off all the fun facts. We want to build an in-law apartment for my mom. My wife and I, my mom and my sister currently live at the house that exists now, and we would like to build the in-law for my mom and my sister to live above the garage that we want to build. We have, as you can see our plot plan, we want to demolish the existing one-car garage that we have and build the breezeway as our common area, and then build the two-car garage because the current garage we have does not satisfy our needs. And then we would like to build up above that.
It's a good drawing. I like
Yeah,
that.
I can read
I
it.
like that.
Right.
Somebody that gets
Matt
it.
Flaherty was always famous for
Yeah,
that.
somebody that gets it. That's nice.
Hey, Colleen, I'm not seeing any letters.
Should have been standing straight up.
Nope, okay, I'm sorry, I do right here.
Can you go down so we can see the,
The locust.
Is that what you wanted to see?
yeah, just real quick, and then just back up so we get, because they got a good side-by-side there. This is stupid.
We do have, my wife made a floor plan design, and we do have a rendering that we created. We do not use an architect to create an elevation drawing. I have those printed out if they're not able to be shown. Oh, that's the floor plan that we've,
Floor plan, you gave me the
Yeah, I
elevations,
get the
correct?
floor plan, but I don't,
It's just above.
yep. We did a side-by-side just to make it easier to view.
yeah, it's good.
Steal my phone, Charlie.
What I just showed?
$961.
So what's the change in the front setback?
We are actually not trying to change anything in the front setback. Our garages are pre-existing nonconformity.
Yep.
So we just hope to continue with that property line that's already established.
Same footprint?
Exactly.
I'm going to read the letters, but the first one is from the building department. I'll bother Mark. I have an asterisk that the addition will increase the
Mr. Chairman?
nonconformity.
Please disregard that comment.
Excellent. The building department has no concerns.
Thank you.
I have a letter from engineering for 31 Kensington with no concerns. I have a letter from fire prevention, which I'm going to read into the record again. 31 Kensington Drive, David and Maria Stafford, LAA. Dear members of the board, this department is concerned that it is more than one dwelling on a property, then that occupancy should be identifiable from the street. This office will require 2 mailboxes identifying the property as 31 Kensington Drive and 31A Kensington Drive. The applicant shall submit an application for the address to the Chelmsford 911 Committee and its coordinator, Town Clerk Tricia Juez. This department is not interested in an official change of address being recorded on the deed. It is only our intent to distinguish this home to emergency responders. The limited accessory apartment and the existing house shall be brought up to the current fire and alarm code according to the Massachusetts State Building Code. The applicant is advised to contact the Fire Prevention Office prior to submitting plans. This office would approve of this plan with these conditions and ask the board to make this letter part of their approval process. Respectfully, Captain Dan Kostofis, Captain, Chelmsford Fire Department. I have a letter from the police with no concerns for 31 Kensington. I have a letter from Community Development with no concerns for 31 Kensington. I have an email, actually, from Katie Messier citing no concerns. This is 8 Holt, so we'll put that in a different pile.
Oh, I saw that she answered both of them.
Oh, she answered both in the same email? I understood, I'm sorry. So that is also for 31 Kensington, even circled, good job. I just didn't say
Trying.
it. You're doing good, that was me, that was on me. I have a letter from Center Water District for 31 Kensington citing no concerns, and a letter from the Board of Health for 31 Kensington with no concerns. They will be part of the record. Are there any attendees in the audience that would like to speak either in favor or against this application? You may, sir, approach the podium. No trouble. You're next, be good.
We'll disregard his comment.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. The entrances to the in-law, where are those gonna be located?
I thought I had sent that in the attached email, but I do have pictures.
Yeah, could I
Is
just
the
take a quick peek?
porch itself going to be the access to it?
Yes.
Okay.
So as you can see, the existing structure is right there.
Yep.
We want to demo the garage that starts here and create a split breezeway. So that we'll have a staircase going up to my mom's and an additional door to go into our existing house. I have just another side shop, so we will have a second entrance.
Two entrances.
Exactly.
We had the
Where to
same
put it,
one.
I'm sorry. I'm like,
That's what I wanted to know, it's just the second floor is just for the new
What I'm
part.
wondering about is the single-family character.
We can address that. It's,
I don't know what everybody thinks, but
well, I think it is an in-law, and I am in favor of them myself as far as a second entrance on the front is your concern, Mark?
yeah, if that changes the look according to, to assure that a single-family character of the neighborhood will be maintained.
In our neighborhood, there's actually 3 in-law apartments in almost our immediate vicinity.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
last year.
I'm more
It's the
referring
door.
to the
Oh, okay.
doorways in the front,
Okay, I'm sorry.
because what a lot of folks will do is they'll put it on the side or in the back when they add it, so that from the front, it still looks like a
Looks
single-family
like a
dwelling.
single family, yeah.
And I'm just, don't know what everyone thinks about that, but.
I don't see an issue with two front entrances, but we can discuss it.
I think it looks better with that than probably like, because
A
it's
full
on the
front.
second level, so you'd have to do the stairway up on the side then, probably.
Outside the home.
It'd be
And
like a
there's one on
two-story
Davis
staircase.
Road, you probably go by it, where they have the whole porch system up.
Yeah,
and
oh yeah,
it's
it's
a
huge.
huge
It's
structure.
huge, yeah.
And I don't think it's larger than it needs to be, it's just that's what
No,
it
it's
took
okay. It's really
to
big,
get it
yeah,
done, yeah. So I think I'd prefer the 2 entrances on the front as opposed to that.
I didn't know if there was a jog where this could
Be tucked
go
in.
that way, Doesn't look like there is really.
Well, we've read the letters, and there's obviously no
Okay.
community input. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close.
A second?
I second it.
By Jerry, all in favor?
Yep,
Aye. Unanimous. I think we can take this up in the form of a motion, as it's getting near 9 o'clock.
Yeah. I had no idea it was gonna go on this long.
I guess it pays to come near the end, huh?
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for 31 Kensington
Correct.
under Article 195-61C23 and D subsection 1 and 2 for the construction of a 7x36 breezeway and a 31x31 garage addition for 31 Kensington Road, Chelmsford.
Have a second?
I second that too.
Second by Jerry, all in favor?
Good, second.
Yeah.
Aye. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. I'm hungry. Huh?
When you were out.
I got a call from my dance studio, which is kind of weird.
That's enough of that.
Might be secret.
Wait all night to do that.
TV now.
What's this one?
I just folded it.
190.
Our next hearing is Richard and Darlene Lucier, 30 Needham Street. They're requesting a special permit under 195-13 for conversion from a single-family to a two-family dwelling unit.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm here just to, we have a single-family house, but there is kind of like an in-law apartment with it. It's not like a formal in-law. We had my in-laws living there. When we built the house, we had an original home. It was my husband's original family home. It was a two-bedroom with, raised with 10 children and the mom and dad in a two-bedroom house. We kept that existing house when we did the addition to take care of my in-laws. So we have this huge, like.
Can I ask you the year that the in-law was
It's okay,
created?
so my father-in-law bought the house in 1946. But I did a deed research with the assessors. They can go back to 1937. We can actually find their like last record that they have on it is 1937. We can go back to other deeds even farther back, just back to like 1927, where there was a dwelling, a garage, and a hen house that was on the property. And I think that there's a clause that if anything's built before 38, you can actually take your home. We didn't, that house, we never did, we kept the footprint, we never changed any building to that, to the existing building. We just actually did an addition where my husband and I and my daughter live. And we took care of my in-laws until they passed away. So that's just been kind of sitting on that, where they lived is still existing and it's there. And what we're planning on doing is selling the property to my daughter and future son-in-law. And then my husband and I want to move from the big place over to the little place, now that we're looking to retire and downsize. So that's really why what we're doing, and talking with Colleen in the building department, that clause of the 1938, instead of just doing it in an in-law apartment, we would actually just go with the two-family. So we're doing no build, there's gonna be no construction being done. Everything that's the way the house looks now is staying exactly the same. There's nothing that's gonna be changing in the property. So I kind of had to explain that to a lot of the people that have had to sign off on this too, because I wanted to understand what we were doing there. And some neighbors, because neighbors came over, what do you mean you're doing, they thought we were like doing something with the property.
Right.
Or with the building, and we're doing nothing. So we're just keeping everything existing as it is.
Do we have a plot plan?
No, but that was, if you read the letters, because she's not doing anything, we
I
requested-
guess I just wanted to understand, and are we going in that direction as far as predating zoning and
it's-
allowing its?
Excuse me?
It predates zoning, so it's by default a two-family?
Well, they're doing the 195-13 conversion.
Yeah.
Based on before 1938.
Right. So I guess my question
Kind
is,
of
do
by
we
right
have
then, right?
not less than 15,000 square feet?
Yeah.
Which is one of the requirements.
And it's
She's got
16.
two lots, I'm showing you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand if we don't have a plot plan, I can't know how
Yeah.
many square feet they have.
Oh, and I do
And
have.
I have the picture too, hold
Yeah,
on.
I do have, it's 16,984
Okay.
is the actual
Price
square,
Don't have less than 15.
is the actual square footage of our property.
Terrific.
So does this law, this article trump the zoning area it's in? Or is it in the zoning area that allows two-family?
I think
But
we're.
they have to have, the requirements are 15,000 square feet,
Yeah.
more than
1938.
600
600
feet
square feet.
per unit,
Things.
and I think there's a, can't,
Each unit has to be
The
over
zoning doesn't
600.
matter. This bylaw trumps the zoning.
Oh, trumps the zoning, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh, and the design of the structure is not changed from the character of a single-family dwelling, which you're not changing anything, so by right, it is a single-family dwelling, that's already met.
Mhm.
There's my pseudo plot.
It's,
Yeah, that's the.
it's basically what happened on Barica Road last
I
year.
think there was one in Stedman that was very similar as well.
Stedman, yes.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah, I remember
Marshall?
that.
Yep, Marciano oil. Yep.
So I'm gonna go into the audience now.
You guys scared everybody away.
I know.
No,
Motion to close
All
the
your
public
friends.
hearing, Brian?
Yep.
motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Does Mark, do you have a question?
I'm just curious about, so was this a permitted LAA?
Yes.
In
Well,
front-
no.
Predated the requirement for a permit.
Okay,
Right, so they got the addition permit in 1992, which was before the LIA bylaws.
okay. That's what I was
So
wondering.
they put
So it's sort of a
addition on it.
grandfather type in-law.
Yeah, okay.
They certainly can't derogate from a single family because they are a single
Right.
family. So they've met all three requirements.
Yep, no, that's fine.
It's 4.
I think there's 4 requirements. I think we met all 4.
The 600 square foot.
Oh, the 600 square foot as well?
1938,
What
15,600.
the little house was what, 900?
I think it's like, I think it's around 800 is actually, yeah.
There's a motion from Charlie to close the public hearing. Do I have a second? Second by Nancy. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. I think we should take this up in the form of a motion
I guess,
within a minute and 30 seconds.
I'd like to give a motion that we approve 30 Needham Street under special permit article 195-13.
I'll second it.
Second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Watching the hockey game.
June
So-
7th, 6 o'clock.
Those minutes?
So Colleen, you'll get back to us about
Yeah.
the 6 o'clock and whether or
Yep.
not
And I'll
Brian,
put a big
it's okay.
red reminder on top of it. Yeah, right.
Take care. See you, bud. Good to see you.
You want anything here?
Okay, so we have the decision by the land court that we might want to glance at.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to.
Do we have any minutes to approve?
Oh, we have minutes? Colleen?
I had them and I didn't get them out for review, so, but yeah. I'll have at least 3 by the next time.
Well, we could do that. Our homework would be just the land court, and if you could email us those minutes so that we can stay current.
Yep.
We'll see you at 6 o'clock on the 7th of
You
June.
think that's enough time? 6?
I was a little
That's
bit
an hour.
concerned about that,
I'm
too.
just asking. It's over there and then get back
I was
here.
gonna say
About an
5:45
Motion
just
to
to get a
adjourn,
couple more
please.
minutes.
Huh?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Adjourn.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yeah.
5:45, so that we have enough time.